Welcome, acolytes. I just spotted this. I literally just interrupted a video just to have this in my freaking eyesight. This popped in like a freaking troll pops in a troll camp. It's just perfect. Now, Ubisoft Insider Leaks pre-order numbers for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Things are looking bleak. From Dr. Disaster. I just want to hear what the man has to say about this, because this will be probably funny. So let's start that.
What's up, space pirates? This is your admiral, the chronically charismatic Dr. Disaster. And one thing that doesn't get mentioned enough to my liking is the fact that an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan should have been just about the biggest game of all time.
Should have been.
That's easy!
Yeah, it really should have been easy to practically print money with a game like that. People have been clamoring for an Assassin's Creed game in that setting for a long while. I remember conversations with coworkers back around the time when Assassin's Creed 2 came out in 2009, talking about all the cool settings that an Assassin's Creed game could take place in, and we all agreed that feudal Japan was easily the coolest. It was a perfect setting. Frankly, it's ridiculous that it took them this long to make a game in Japan, and it's even more ridiculous that Ubisoft has basically screwed it up. It takes a special kind of moron to screw up something so straightforward.
I'm retarded? Yep!
Perfection. Yeah, I mean, these days that's not even something special, so
well,
I'm
the
not
other
even
day,
surprised.
we discussed the investor call that Ubisoft had recently, where they revealed that they expected $1 billion in sales to close out their fiscal year, which ends at the end of March. So, that's $1 billion in sales, despite the fact that in the first 10 and a half months, they've only made about $900 million. Clearly, they are expecting Assassin's Creed Shadows to perform exceptionally well and carry them over the finish line. In order to hit their target, they would be looking at over 10 million units sold between now and March 31st.
I have no idea what the you're talking about.
Now, I speculated the other day that the people at Ubisoft were either completely delusional or they were flat out lying, which is a crime, by the way. It's not a...
Yeah, but the thing is, yes, it's a crime, but nobody will pursue for this, so there's that. But in the end, I'm actually still expecting Assassin's Creed to sell well, so yeah.
To lie to your investors. But now, an insider at Ubisoft has reached out to the folks at Insider Gaming, giving us a rough number as to how many pre-orders have actually been sold of Assassin's Creed Shadows at this point, along with the actual projection for what it looks like the sales numbers will be for the game after its first month. And it is nowhere near the amount that they would need to sell in order to hit Ubisoft's sales projections that they announced at the investor call. And if the game underperforms as this insider suggests, well, let's just say that right about now, I'll betcha that the executives at Ubisoft are feeling awfully nervous.
Does someone need a hug?
And by the way, as they should feel nervous, because slowly but surely we're actually coming back to the time where games were good. It's still swinging around, it's not entirely there, but at some point I think we're gonna get there again. But until then, well, we will see. Yes, correctly. Right now it's...
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video to fight off the algorithm monster, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already, and also, don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1.
I disagree with this. Don't fight the algorithm monster. Tame it and use it.
But alright, we're going to dig into the numbers that were provided to Insider Gaming concerning this game, and we're going to look at what we can expect here. keeping in mind that if Ubisoft hadn't gone out of their way to subvert expectations, if they hadn't done the Yasuki thing, if they had just given players a couple of actually Japanese ninjas rather than one Japanese ninja and one black samurai, if they had done the obvious thing, they wouldn't be in this position. I have no doubt that they could have hit their projections or at least come close. The highest selling game in franchise history was Valhalla, and that one sold around 8 million units in its first month. I sincerely believe that a feudal Japan version of the game could top that number. But anyhow, let's read this article from Insider Gaming.
I'm gonna be honest, he's correct about that. Because don't get me wrong, a lot of people actually quite like Vikings. But feudal Japan? That's something that way more people want to see. But
where they drop the actual pre-order numbers on us. I love the headline of this article. The game has been pushed back so far that by now it becomes news that they're actually confident that it will release on time. But anyhow, the article says, Insider gaming sources have said that the publisher and the developers are now confident that Assassin's Creed Shadows will launch on March 20th. Of course, never say never of another delay, but Ubisoft has made preparations to increase its marketing of Assassin's Creed Shadows ahead of its launch, including finalizing the embargo dates for the game's review. Speaking with several developers working on the game, they said that they felt confident that it will be ready for its March release date, with one source stating that the game is now pretty much done.
By the way, sorry about that. I was actually looking at some comments and read them in between. And now there popped up a short. So sorry about that.
And then here's where they get into the financials of the game. The article says...
And yes, I am to a certain degree multitasking. I mean, I'm not multitasking like that big, but I can hear people say something and actually think about it and read something at the same time.
As mentioned during Ubisoft's latest earnings call, Shadows is currently on par with that of Assassin's Creed Odyssey in terms of its pre-order numbers. Early previews have been positive, praising its narrative and immersive experience, with both characters playing critical roles in the game's storyline, as well as the quality and complementarity of the gameplay provided by the dual protagonist approach, Guillemot said in the most recent earnings call. At the time of writing, Shadows currently has around 300,000 pre-orders. Said sources and Odyssey's day one player numbers were between 400 to 450,000, a gap of around 100 to 150,000 that needs to be made up in the next 4 weeks. First of all, to say that the game has around 300,000 is pretty non-specific. That could mean something as low as, say, 270,000. That could be rounded up and estimated to be around 300,000. But still, this is a...
I mean, to be fair, it could also be rounded down. It's just extremely unrealistic that they round down something if they can have the bigger number here. So there's that. But hey, at the end of the day,
reasonably specific number that we're getting from this insider, about as specific as you could hope to get, in fact, at this stage. And I've got to say, I just don't see the enthusiasm being as high as it was for Odyssey as it is with Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Of course not. They effed it up.
I doubt they will make up that player gap.
Yeah.
The people pre-ordering Assassin's Creed Shadows now are the sort of die-hard corporate ass-kissers who really just want to own the chuds and show how popular progressive shit in video games is.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
But let's read a little more of the article to get a bit more perspective. It says, looking at the data, if Shadows continues the same trajectory as Odyssey throughout launch, it's estimated the game could sell approximately 3.5 million units in its first month. Now, that falls right in line with what Asmongold was predicting in his video the other day. He was saying somewhere around 4 million units, which is what I've also been thinking, and it looks like this could be accurate. But...
Yeah, why not?
What should be extremely concerning for Assassin's Creed fans is the fact that the budget on this game is almost assuredly absolutely enormous. The delays alone, from November to March, have cost Ubisoft an estimated $20 to $30 million. If a few months of work can do that, imagine what 5 or so years of development will have cost. For perspective, the most recent Ubisoft release, Star Wars Outlaws, cost a reported $300 million to develop. It wouldn't shock me at all if Assassin's Creed Shadows cost north of that. And when you factor in marketing, well, let's just say this was a pretty expensive venture. Not the sort of project where I would willingly invite controversy and go out of my way to subvert the expectations of my customers. Once again, I will remind you that a feudal Japan Assassin's Creed should be able to hit Valhalla numbers no problem. But let's say they hit Odyssey numbers instead and only sell about 3.5 million units. The average price of a unit will be about $70. If you multiply 3.5 million by 70, you get $245 million made on this game. And then, keep in mind that Ubisoft only gets about 75% of the money brought in on these games. The rest goes to the platforms that sold it.
Oh,
Steam,
correct!
The PlayStation Store, Xbox, retail stores.
Good point. I always forget that one. Damn. That's actually even more damning then. That's why I love Dr. Disaster. He has some kind of thing, always like the thing that he thinks about things that I just would never ever thought about. Because that's true. Even like some developers or some that just desperate, like even Steam, I think they take 30% or something like that. And this is one of the cheapest. Like 30% is one of the lowest amounts. So, yeah.
They all charge a fee for selling on their platform because that's how they make money. The average fee is 25%, leaving Ubisoft with approximately 75% of $245 million, which comes out to about $184 million. On a likely budget of somewhere in the ballpark of $300 million, this is actually catastrophic. And what's worse is that there are signs that Shadows won't get anywhere near the same numbers as Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Over on Steam, they still haven't hit 20,000 followers for this game. That is a far cry from the over 330,000 that they have for Odyssey.
Damn.
However, it looks as though they aren't far off from Assassin's Creed Mirage.
I'm gonna be honest, I am not sure if this cost 300 million, because if you've seen the gameplay of freaking Assassin's Creed Shadows, let's just open Grubby here. Assassin's Creed Shadows, and let's just see a gameplay. Gamma play. Let's see, because I don't want to necessarily go for this. Let's take a smaller creator, K-Drawer. So he is already shout out.
Willkommen zurück zu einer weiteren Folge.
That's not even a small creator. What the F? Only the... Okay. Well, fair enough, I guess. But I'm gonna say this. Like, come on, Acolytes. Do you really think that this crap cost 300 million to make? I'm gonna be honest, like, the looks of it, I mean, look at the, it's, I mean, you know, it's...
launch, which saw a massive drop in players, so it's hard to say for sure exactly where this thing will land. It could always surprise us, but
Yeah, of
at
course.
this stage,
It could.
I'm starting to lean towards something closer to 3 million units sold in its first month as opposed to 4. When this happens, when the game sells a couple million units in its first few days, naturally, you can expect the mainstream media to parade this around like it's a major victory. They'll celebrate with every million sold, but in truth, only selling a few million in the game's first month would be apocalyptic for Ubisoft, who had the easiest layup in the history of gaming just sitting right there in front of them, but instead they decided to settle for a half-court shot with very little chance of making it. But I'm going to leave it there. Drop your contempt for Ubisoft, and there's...
No, don't drop your content to Ubisoft. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, he's correct about it. I'm quite happy that we see some kind of thing. And also, I just don't think that the costs were that high. From the looks of the game, I mean, tops 150. But I also don't know that much. But, I mean, the freaking game is ugly as F. But as it is, Acolytes, good night.